He's
Not
been
gonna
in
have
the
a lot of
back room.
questions on
Are you doing
All
good?
set?
Oh. I'm on vibrate. I hope I'm on vibrate. I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I have a roll call, please?
Present.
Councilor Langevin?
Present.
Councilor Marcucci?
Excused.
Councilor McDonald?
Excused.
Councilor Moriarty?
Present.
Councilor Nicola? Councilor Peliquin?
Absent.
Absent, okay. Councilor Regis?
Excused.
Councilor Vandal?
Present.
5 present.
Okay, we have a quorum. Agenda item number 3, consider and accept town council meeting minutes of Monday, February 11th, 2013.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, can I have a roll call on that, please?
Sure. Councilor Langevin?
Yes.
Councilor Moriarty?
Yes.
Councilor Nicola?
Yes.
Councilor Peliquin?
Yes.
Councilor Vandal?
Yes.
Councilor Clements?
Yes.
6 yes.
Thank you. Okay, agenda item number 4, subcommittee reports. A is general government. There is a meeting of the General Government Subcommittee, and it's scheduled for Tuesday, February 26th. That's tomorrow night, 7 o'clock in the George Parent Community Room. The items on the agenda: vote to reappoint Melinda Ernst Funyer as treasurer for a 3-year term. Vote to appoint Wilfred B. Canoyer as principal assessor for a 3-year term. And there are no meeting minutes for that. B, DPW. Councilor Vandal?
No report, no meeting scheduled. Thank you.
Thank you. C is Education and Human Services. I have no meeting minutes here, but there is a meeting scheduled for March 5th, and that will be at Tuesday, March 5th, 7 o'clock in the George Parent Community Room. On the agenda is the unemployment, the school. We're going to hold off. It looks like the superintendent has spoken with Councilor Marcucci and asked us to hold off on the task force discussion, and they have a freeze on their budget meetings until they get results from their audits. So it'll just be discussion of the unemployment for EHS. D is Planning and Development. Councilor Clements?
No minutes, no meeting scheduled at this time.
Thank you. And E, Protection of Persons and Property. Councilor Langevin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no report and no meeting scheduled at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, agenda item number 5 is Chairwoman's announcements. I only have one thing, and I'm not going to comment on it. I'm going to read something to you. This is the Southbridge Town Council Rules and Regulations. It was adopted by the council on April 16th, 1974. It has been amended many times. Its last amendment was September 14th, 2009. The excerpt that I intend to read is not something that is coming up for a vote as a charter change. Its existence, it has been in existence at least since October 29th, 2007. This is Rule 4. The subcommittee chairman shall give the town council an oral report which conveys the recommendation of the subcommittee to recommend, amend, or reject the proposal considered by the subcommittee. Further, the subcommittee chairman shall determine if, in addition to his report, he shall read the minutes of the subcommittee meeting to the town council members at the next meeting following the subcommittee meeting. Unless excused by the chairman of the town council or subcommittee due to illness, vacation, unusual work problems, or other just cause, a councilor's absence shall count as unexcused and unauthorized. The town council chairman shall have the power to issue warnings, either publicly or privately, to any councilor for chronic unexcused absences from meetings. The town council may, by a two-thirds vote, censure a councilor if he or she has more than 20% unexcused absences during any 3-month period. The revisions will be effective as of the first meeting of the council after the March 1986 election. So this has been on the books for a while. That's all I have to say this evening as the chairwoman's announcements. And for anybody out there who goes by the book, take that for what it's worth. Thank you. And now we move on to the manager's announcements. Mr. Clark?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have a couple of announcements this evening. I have received material, a news release from Whitewater, our water department operator, and they have informed us that there will be a hydrant flow test on Wednesday, March 6th at approximately 7 a.m. The location to be tested will be at 511 Breakneck Road. The procedure could cause accumulation of sediment in the water mains throughout the town that require hydrant flushing. If the hydrant flushing is required, it will start in the Westville area and continue easterly throughout the town. Department requests that during this period, customers check their water before washing clothes. Customers may get an accumulation of sediment in their house laterals and experience some discolored water. This will clear after a brief run of water at the tap, and please contact the Southbridge Water Department if you have any questions or concerns. They also have a request, again, this is Whitewater, our water department operator, in regards to, well, let me just read it. This reminds that all owners or agents of premises abutting on the public way shall not allow any fire hydrant to be obstructed by snow per the Town of Southbridge Code of Bylaws, Section 7-406. Owners, agents of property abutting sidewalks required to be snow removed. If the owner or designee shall fail to properly clear the sidewalk, fire hydrants, and/or other neglects or violates the duties imposed by this bylaw, the town may, in addition to other penalties available in law or equity, perform or cause to be performed such duties at the expense of the owner. Such expense may be incurred as a municipal charge lien under the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40, Section 58. Certainly, we just want to remind folks that it is a public safety concern to make sure that if you're out there doing snow shoveling, if you would, please make sure the hydrants are covered. It's for your own public safety that is in place. Also, if you have part of your sidewalk is a access to a crosswalk, I would ask that you just also see if you can just make sure that the crosswalks are kept clear. Also, I have received some material from the Southbridge Cultural Council. I'm not going to read through, but they have received 32 applications for award for the 2013 grant cycle. They have approved 25 of the 32 applications, and the total funding for 2013 was $8,610 that was distributed between those 25 different entities. The other, I guess, 3 other announcements that I have. I did ask this council to see if we could advertise some of our buildings at a discounted amount, and I am happy to report tonight, this is certainly preliminary results, and I do wish to caution that they are strictly preliminary results, but in the 4 buildings that we advertised, we did receive a minimum of 1 bid on all 4 buildings. And I am cautiously optimistic that we will be able to effectuate the closing on the majority of those, and that remains to be seen as we work through the final stages of the process. But we had 70 Foster Street, which is the former Water Department building, 114 Pleasant Street, which is the McKinnon building, 115 Marcy Street, which was the old YMCA/WCAC daycare facility, and 62 Pleasant Street, which is the old former DPW building. So we did receive bids on all 4 of those, and for those that felt that they missed out on any of them, we do have 80 Marcy Street, the former middle school, that will be having their walkthrough this Friday. So if interested, please contact the office for greater details. And I think we do have it on the website as well. And then also, I just wanted to announce, I had told the council previously that I am also an instructor just for one class over at Clark University. I did have a gentleman approach me from the class to a graduate student, and I have brought him on as a intern, and he will be helping me to develop the FY14 budget, and he's been a tremendous asset. His name is Spencer Curry, and on March 18th, when I plan on doing the budget presentation, I probably will have Spencer come in and help me do that. So that way the council will have an opportunity to actually see form and function in action. And then actually the councilwoman kind of referenced the charter changes. We have received information that we have to have our town election the same day as the state special election for senator, so that will be June 25th of 2013, and we are preparing the necessary materials. I've also requested the town clerk put together a plan to make sure that the adequate staffing is in place to make sure that that election goes off in a successful manner. So I just wanted to report those items this evening, Madam Chair, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Okay. Moving along to the swearing-in presentation portion of the meeting. I do have one department presentation, and that is Mark DeFranzo, our fire chief.
Good evening. I'm here today to give you a little overview on your fire department, what it is that we do, how we have our apparatus.
Excuse me, could we take 1 second, please, Chief? Seems to be an awful echo in all of our microphones up here.
Chief, if you could, why don't you move that mic a little bit closer to you too, just to be able to speak into it.
Test, 1, 2. Everybody hear me?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yep, thank you.
Sure. All right, so the Southbridge Fire Department, obviously there's the fire chief, which is me. We're in the process of looking for a deputy fire chief. And then the department is split into two sections. We've got the career department and the call department. The career department is made up of 4 groups. One group has a captain for a shift supervisor. The other 3 groups have lieutenants. One of them happens to be a paramedic. And then under each of those groups, there's 3 firefighters who are also EMTs or EMT intermediates, and then 2 paramedics on every group. We also have a lieutenant who's in charge of fire inspections and code enforcement. And then I also have an EMS coordinator who helps out with the EMS regulations, the paperwork, and tracking all of our EMS personnel to make sure that we adhere to all of the OEMS state regulations. The call department is monitored by a captain. He's got the chaplain underneath him. We have 2 groups for the call department, both run by lieutenants. And then underneath those, there's 2 firefighters for each group. There happens to be 1 firefighter EMT on each group, and 1 firefighter medic on one group, and 2 firefighter paramedics on the other group. The other classification of staff we have in our department is the auxiliary staff. We're trying to put that together now. We hope to have about 10. We've had some great interest in our department becoming an auxiliary member, so hopefully we can use that enthusiasm to help us move along.
Excuse me, Chief?
Yes, sir.
Could you explain the difference between the call firefighters and the auxiliary?
Yeah, the call firefighters are specifically trained and have to meet a minimum certification of Firefighter 1, which we send them to school. The district sponsors its own recruit training program once a year. If they don't want to wait for that program, they're more than welcome to go to the State Fire Academy, which is a call volunteer program that they can go and attend and get all the necessary training. They got to be a minimum of 18 years of age. The other thing is the call department gets paid. They get paid for their level of knowledge. So some of them have their Firefighter 1 certification, some of them are officers. So we pay them accordingly, and then they also get an hourly wage. The auxiliary department gets no pay whatsoever. And we're trying to figure out if we can allow 16 years of age to 18 years of age on the auxiliaries, just so we can get them in, keep their enthusiasm going, keep them on the department, maybe get them onto the call department, and then maybe a full-time status at some point. So they become familiar with the town is kind of where we're trying to aim with that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So what do we do with the fire department? Obviously, most people know we put out fires, fire suppression. Some of the other things that we do, which obviously we did during the tornado, was disaster response and mitigation. We do fire inspections and code enforcement. We try to get to every business in town to make sure that they're running properly, they don't have any overloads of fire hazards or problems. We also do check all of the schools thoroughly at least once a year. We do school fire drills 4 times a year. The hospital has to be checked out 4 times a year. The nursing home has to be checked out 4 times a year. So Lieutenant Inspector Lavoie is a very busy person checking on different things. We also get complaints from different residences in town that we have to go and investigate and figure out the best policy and procedure to follow to get them to become in compliance. The other thing we do is if we do have fires, we do fire investigation. We have 3 staff members right now. 2 of them have attended the training program that the state offers. One of them went on and took the National Fire Academy program for fire arson investigation. So we feel we have a pretty good handle on if there's a fire in town, we're going to hopefully be able to figure it out. Some of the other things we do is hazardous materials response and mitigation. Property conservation, we get a lot of phone calls for water pipes that are broken. So we'll go see if we can figure out where the water's coming from, see if we can shut it off so that we don't have any more, damage to someone's property or apartment. Utility hazard mitigation, that's dealing with the electrical lines, telephone lines, cable lines, natural gas pipe that we get, gas odors, we'll go take care of those problems. Fire prevention, we're trying to do more adult education programs. We happened to get invited to a Latino program about a month or so ago, and it was curious to find out that they didn't know that we provided the EMS service for the town. So by me doing this presentation, hopefully we can get the word out that we provide the ambulance service for the town. The other program that we do is the SAFE program, Student Awareness Fire Education Program, that's sponsored by the state. We have 2 people that are certified to the public life safety educator level. So they go out into the schools and provide education to the student body. Again, fire safety, fire prevention. If we don't have the fire, that's the best way to go. So our EMS service, again, we run the ambulances. We have 3 of them. We started doing advanced life support at the intermediate level at 2002, which basically allowed us to get IV access to patients and also advanced airway management. And then in 2009, we went to the paramedic level. Rescue services, we have the ability to respond to motor vehicle crashes, to provide extrication. We can do basic water and ice rescue, which I'm sure you've seen in the minutes. Our staff's going out doing training on ice rescue right now. And we have limited abilities for technical rescue. Sometimes over on Central Street by the bridge, we've had a couple people go over the railing and we've had to provide some type of rope work to get them up out of that little ravine that's there. Now some of the things that we've done, because a lot of the other rescue capabilities that need to happen in the fire service, we don't have the money, we don't have the equipment, so we're trying to work together with a regional approach, and we're starting to work with the towns of Southbridge, Charlton, Auburn, Oxford, and Dudley to create some regional response efforts. One of them happened to be a dive team. We have 4 members in our department that are on the dive team, so between 4 members of my department, about 6 from Charlton, 5 from Auburn, you can see now when you start putting those numbers together, you don't have a large team. And now it's only a small burden on Southbridge of 4 members versus trying to equip and train a team of 20. We only have to do 4 at this particular point in time. Hopefully we can expand and have a few more members on that team. We're also trying it out with the technical rescue response. That's still in the infancy stage at this time. We're still trying to put together the policies and procedures and the training evolutions that we want that staff to meet before we allow them to operate. So we're trying to do things, again, and save money as best as possible. Some of the state approaches, I'm sure you've seen them around town a couple times last year, was the state hazmat team. They provide a wealth of knowledge, equipment, and staff to help us through any hazardous materials response that would happen here in town. The other thing we do is, with the hospital, we have a mass decontamination unit, and that's our responsibility as the Southbridge Fire Department to provide that service to the hospital. It's a trailer unit. You may have seen it up at the hospital. Right now, we currently have it stored in an alternate location at the current time with all the things going on in Harrington, but it is ready to go at a moment's notice to respond to the hospital to provide decontamination. Should there be a problem anywhere in the state, we get notified to prop these things up. There's 92 of these located across the state to protect all of the hospitals here in the state of Massachusetts. What you see there, what's a little hard to see in the picture, is there's 3 segments to the tent. There's an entry where the people will disrobe to remove all of the contaminated clothing. The middle section is what we call the wash tent. So that's where you'd wash up and clean off any of the contaminants. And then the third tent we provide some level of coverings, whether it be ponchos or Tyvek suits or whatever we have available to cover you so you can move on to get evaluated now in the emergency room. Because as we know, we can't have the hospital become contaminated because then it will totally shut down the whole hospital. So this is our responsibility to do and take care of. So it's something that we have to train on and be knowledgeable on how to set this thing up. This happens to be a picture of the, we'll call it a railway for the patients that have to come in by ambulance. We can stick them on the flat pieces of plastic and slide them along the rollers so they never have to leave their spinal immobilization if we have to, in fact, do that. There's our fire station. The original 4-bay and tower section was built in 1899, so it's rather old and antiquated, but it certainly has a lot of history and character to it. Certainly a landmark here in town. The last 2 bays on the left-hand side, from what I've been told, were added on by the firefighters in about the 50s and 60s. Some of the apparatus that we have, engine 1, it's our oldest engine. It's a 1981. It carries about 750 gallons of water, has a 1250 gallon per minute pump, and we had the body repaired in 2008 because it was starting to rot away in some areas, especially in the battery compartment and wheel well and some of the rear compartment areas. Engine 2 is our next oldest apparatus, 1989 Han, carries 1,500 gallons of water, so it can respond to those areas of town that we don't have hydrants in. However, we're very lucky that this town has quite an amount of hydrants around, so we should be good. That carries a 1250 pump. We just had the body repaired for the same problems that engine 1 had just this past year. Engine 3 is the newest engine. We got it in 2003. Carries 750 gallons of water and has a 1250 pump. The ladder truck, again, another synonymous piece of equipment here in the town of Southbridge. We've had a tiller truck here in town for, I can't count how many years. We continue to have the tiller truck. It was repowered, I guess, in 1989 is a good way to put it, with a new tractor, so that's the front piece. However, the back end is still a 1973. It does take 2 people to drive it, so one has to be in the front, one has to be in the back, so you've probably seen it around town. Back in 2001, it failed an inspection test for the ladder, so it had to be shortened, or what we call de-stroked. So it was de-stroked back to 80 feet, and that was in order for us to keep it so we could figure out a plan on how to overcome the loss of that extra 20 feet, especially at the high-rise at 60 Charlton Street. If we had to make some rescues above the 6th or 7th floor, we might not have been able to make it with the ladder truck at 80 feet. So the town in 2003 bought a 95-foot tower truck. It has a 300-gallon water tank, so it can kind of take care of itself or put out a fire quickly if it's the first truck to arrive, and it has a 1,500 GPM pump. This rescue unit it's still Rescue 1, however, it doesn't carry our JAWS equipment anymore. We've revamped some of the operations that we do. This truck predominantly has the ability to support that MDU unit we were talking about, and then also supply ancillary lighting to our fire scenes. It's got an onboard generator system and some other ancillary auxiliary equipment. We store it at the DPW facility right now. This is Rescue 2. This used to be Forest Fire 1 back in the day. We've now moved it to Rescue 2. It carries all of our JAWS equipment and has other basic rescue equipment for any rescue needs that we may have. It does have a tank of water of about 300 gallons, and it has a 300 GPM pump. Forest Fire 1, we bought in 2008. It's got a 300-gallon tank, 300 GPM pump. It also has a 50-gallon foam cell for Class A foam, which is for brush fires and fires that we may have in the woods. The way the Class A foam works is it kind of makes water wetter, so we get a better extinguishment on the 300 gallons that we do carry. So it actually makes it more an effective piece of equipment. It also has a winch on the front of the truck in case we do get it stuck. Hopefully we don't. With this particular piece of equipment, we went with a 4-door cab, so we had the ability to carry extra staff if in fact we had to. The other thing that if during the blizzard, if we weren't able to get an engine out on the road, with this being 4-wheel drive, we could take this to a reported house fire if we had to. It does have the ability to respond to those types of events. It's not going to be a long-term event for us to put the fire out, but if we could get the people out of the property, that's kind of the goal and objective. So, Forest Fire 2, 1971 Chevy. It's got 100 gallons on it with a 250 pump. From what I'm told, this truck was built by the firefighters back in the 70s. So this truck was not made by any manufacturer other than the blood, sweat, and tears of the firefighters of those days. It's still a standard. So what we're finding is some of the newest firefighters that we're hiring don't even know what a standard is. So we're trying to train them and teach them how to function a standard automobile. However, I'm a little nervous about allowing them to run these trucks too much because most of these parts we can't buy anymore. So a lot of these parts would have to be manufactured in order for us to keep this in service. So, but we do a good job. The guys do a great job at trying to keep this up and running. And then this is the Jeep that everybody sees. Again, kind of along the same lines. It's a standard 1953 Willys Jeep. Carries about 80 gallons of water and has a 100 GPM pump. The 3 ambulances, we just bought one a couple years ago. They're all Lifeline ambulances. One thing you'll notice, all the ambulances look alike. They were just bought in different years. This one was bought in 2008. And the first one we ever bought was in 2003. Back in 2003, when we were looking to expand our operations for 3 ambulances, the membership decided to take a hard look at how do we operate, what do we need, how do we want an ambulance to function for us. And this was the design concept that we came up with. And when we went to buy the second ambulance, or the second newest one in 2008, I posed the question, were there any changes you'd like to see? Has there been anything wrong with it? Do you not like it? And I didn't hear one complaint, which is very unusual for our staff. They're very good at telling us that this is wrong, this isn't working right, we need to fix this, we need to change that. So it was very surprising and happy to hear that they liked the truck, they liked the way it functioned, so we bought another one. And then when we bought the last one in 2010, that finally allowed us to have consistency among all the ambulances. All the equipment is in the same place. All of the ambulances are staffed the same with 2 paramedics, or 1 paramedic and 1 EMT. So it worked out really nice that we have all of our equipment the same. And then here's our pickup truck, a 1998 F-350, the command car, which is what I drive, and the inspector's car, a 2004 Ford Explorer. Some things that the Southbridge Fire Department does, we're part of Fire District number 7. The state is broken up into 15 different fire districts. Our district is comprised of 26 cities and towns. With us being part of District 7 many years ago, it was decided that we would become the district dispatch control point. Now, by having that ability to do that, we activate all of the strike teams here in our little district. Our district has decided to create these quick response teams of apparatus and equipment to different types of fires, whether it be brush, structural, disaster, tanker operations. We've decided to break ourselves up, so we dispatch all of those. And then at the state level, which is even larger pieces of assemblies of equipment, we also activate all of those and dispatch all of that equipment. We also have direct contact with MEMA. We have a separate phone line that goes straight to the MEMA bunker. It's not over radio waves, it's over different phone lines, and we have the ability to communicate directly with them should there be a problem. All of the colored areas are our district here in Worcester, southern Worcester County. It's from the Warren, Brookfield area, Sturbridge, all the way to the east, Upton, Mendon, Millville, and Blackstone, and all the way up to Worcester and Paxton, and down to the Connecticut line. In 2008, we had the ability to apply for a Homeland Security grant to upgrade our dispatch. For those that don't remember what it used to look like, it was built in the 1980s, and it was pretty worn at this time, and we needed to upgrade. We were still dispatching all the strike teams, state task forces, working with MEMA. So it was time for an upgrade. So we put in for the grant, and we received it, and we certainly did spend the money wisely. All of the money that was we got from the grant was spent on the equipment. The town paid for the materials to paint the room, re-sheetrock the room, floor, all of that. But the guys themselves and the members of the department pitched in and did all of the labor while they were on duty or while they were off duty. So it certainly saved a lot of money, and it certainly helped out the town by the guys taking pride in doing the work. So they did a great job. We have a great dispatch center. The guys truly appreciate what we have, and it certainly came in handy the night of the tornado. So statistical data that we just put together quickly to talk about some things. We went back 30 years because it would have been a little bit more difficult for me to go back only 20. Record keeping in our department is not as well as it could be. We'd have to go back and count everything by hand. So this happened to be in a town report that I got out of the clerk's office from the fiscal year 1982. We responded to about 1,081 fires. We did 1,660 ambulance calls. There were 28 career firefighters and 23 call firefighters. In fiscal year 2012, we did 986 fire calls, 2,966 ambulance calls. Career firefighters were 27, and call firefighters was 13. So again, same thing we just talked about a little while ago. In August 2008, we started doing electronic patient care reporting. That was around the same time we started doing automated dispatch in our dispatch operations. This was around the same time we started doing the construction work, so it was a little hectic in our office for a while. And then in November 2008, we started the paramedic delivery, and we equipped 2 ambulances at that time because we just couldn't afford to go to the third ambulance. We didn't know if we really needed 3 ambulances at that time. So over time, we found that we really needed the ability to have 3 ambulances available for paramedicine. So in May 2011, we asked for and received the additional monies to buy used equipment to bring that third truck up to paramedic level. So with paramedicine, we wanted to kind of show, is it working, is it not working? So what we did was we took some totals of ambulance calls that we had. So in 2009, we did 2,778 ambulance calls. Out of those calls, we did 15 cardiac arrests. We had 1 save that equaled out to about 6%. In 2010, we did 2,944 ambulance calls. We had 10 cardiac arrests, and unfortunately, we weren't able to save anybody. In 2011, we did 2,877 ambulance calls with 17 cardiac arrests. We had 3 saves that year, which we recognized last year. So that's an 18% save percentage. So we went from 6% to 18. So we've certainly done a yeoman's job of trying to make sure that we provide the best level of care to our citizens here in town. And then in 2012, we did 2,966 with 21 cardiac arrests. Again, we only had the ability to save 3, so that it worked out to about 14%. So you can certainly see that over time, by us having paramedicine and training our people and keeping them well equipped, we're being able to save lives, which is truly the goal of our department. And our department continues to provide some of the latest and best practices in pre-hospital medicine using the intraosseous drill, which in the field we call it the IO drill. So if we don't have the ability to get IV access, we have the ability to drill into the bone area. And again, that takes training and skill. That's just not something you pick up and run with. Capnography, ventilators, CPAP, RAD-57, CO monitoring. So if somebody feels they got too much CO, we have a meter on our truck that we can go and get your CO levels in your blood. It's about 98% correct compared to doing a blood test at home. So it's a pretty accurate device that we're able to get. Some of the other things that we do in our department is the CERT program. We work with emergency management on that. This is the Community Emergency Response Team. What these people do is they assist with sheltering, they assist the Red Cross, they assist us with rehabbing firefighters if we want them to, and any other functions that we think we need them to help us out with. The team follows national standards for training, and they are able to respond to all different types of hazards, and then we also include first aid and CPR in the training. In fact, they're starting a training class tomorrow night. There's going to be about 41 students between the 5 towns of Sturbridge, Charlton, us, Oxford, and Dudley. And again, like we spoke earlier, we work with emergency management and the emergency management director very closely, and whatever he needs, we will try to accomplish whatever he needs. So at the end of my presentation, if you need us, call 911. That's our emergency number. That's how you get a hold of us. If you need to just talk about business or you need an inspection done or anything along those lines, our business number is 508-764-5430. And that's your fire department.
Thank you very much. That was wonderful. Does anybody have any questions? When do we get to go red on all of the trucks and things?
I'm sorry you don't.
Oh,
Liability.
Counselor?
First, I wanted to kind of thank you. I think this was probably, if not the best, one of the better presentations we've had, at least in my opinion. I do have a couple quick questions, though. One is kind of considering what we saw, what do you feel are the department's greatest needs right now?
Training is the greatest need that we have right now. Training and some more equipment. We've worked very well over the last couple of years with the town manager and the council. And then we also got a grant opportunity a number of years ago to get us all brand new turnout gear. We've worked with the council to get new air packs. We did get a new engine. We've got a new ambulance or two, but as you can see, our 1981 engine certainly doesn't meet the standards of today's firefighting apparatus. It's still an open cab, which is not really allowed anymore. They want us to be in closed cabs. And it still has equipment that probably shouldn't be on that truck anymore, but it's what we have. It met NFPA at the time it was built, so it's certainly more than capable of operating a piece of equipment, and we did, our best job to try to create, take care of the rust that we found and keep it on the road as safely as we can.
Okay, then the other question is a bit, possibly a bit more difficult. the firehouse itself, the viability, short-term, long-term?
I've spoken with the town manager. We'd like to put some type of committee together. However, there was a committee formed a number of years ago, and those people were put on indefinitely. So I have to reach out to those people that had signed up for that, and hopefully we can send a letter out in the next week or two to those people to see if they're still interested. Because if they're still interested, I don't know how we go about getting around the fact that they were appointed indefinitely. There are some that have passed away since that committee was created or moved, so we will look to replace those people. But, we're looking to see what we can do about, do we stay where we are, do we expand operations where we are, or do we look for a whole brand-new facility? My approach is, we should look at every single option that's available and then, cost it out over the long term. This building, obviously, we've had for over 100 years. I don't know if it'll make another 100 years, but it's something we need to look at and, consider and bring in the professionals to give us opinions on the best approach.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything? On that last note, there are blueprints, and there's quite a bit of work that was done by that former committee. I know I've seen all of the work that they've done over the past few years, so hopefully you can integrate that with what you do.
Yeah, that's the hope, yes.
Thank you very
Oh,
much,
you're welcome.
Chief. Okay, I do have one other presentation. It's not listed here, but it came in kind of late. This is Mrs. Monique Manna and Chief Charette want to give us a quick discussion of the Cops and Kids program.
Yes, good evening. Thanks for giving us a minute. Just make this very quick, but we're just starting to kick off for this year's fundraising for our Cops and Kids program. I would like to ask the council if they could fit us in on the perhaps the last council meeting of this month, and we'd like to give you a 5 or 10 minute PowerPoint on everything the program does. But we are starting now with the fundraising, so we kind of wanted to get the message out to the public that will be out there. It's a critically important program for our community through some great hard work of some folks fundraising last year and a lot of help from local businesses, Hyde's, Dexter, Russell, United Lens. I can't say enough how much the community's helped us. But I do think this is very important, and we want the folks out there to know that we're getting started, and Monique is going to give you a 2-minute breakdown on some of the things you'll be seeing around town. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Charette. Thank you, Madam Chair, Town Council, Monique Manna. As the Chief said, we are starting our fundraiser efforts for the Cops and Kids program for the 2013 summer season. We're starting our fundraising efforts this year with a badge campaign. So this is what the badge looks like. It says, "I support Southbridge Cops and Kids." We're going to have silver badges and we're going to have gold badges. The silver badges are $1 or more. You can donate as much as you want. We don't want to go under $1, but we'll take anything. The gold badges, $5. And like I said, we'll take, can you hear me?
How much are the
How
gold
much for the
ones?
gold? We just didn't hear what you said.
$5. Yeah. So it's $1 for the silver badges, $5 for the gold badges. I mean, you can donate as much as you want, though. $2, $3, $4, $10, $20, $100, you know, whatever you can afford. And also, next to the business cash registers, you may see one of these flyers right here, and it touches upon the badge campaign and a little bit about the Cops and Kids program also. This is a wonderful program. I wish I would have known about it when my older kids were little, because I certainly would have taken advantage of it. If you look around town within the next few days, actually starting March 1st, you'll notice our badges being displayed at the registers, and you'll see some signs in the doors. Right now, I'd like to take a moment and thank some of our local businesses that have stepped up to the plate and decided to help along with this campaign effort. Big Bunny Supermarket, Dunkin' Foment, Flood's Gas Station on Hamilton Street, the Happy Dog Cafe on South Street, which is the Old Arts Variety, Minute Mart down on East Main Street, Zoe's Pizza, Village Photo. They've all stepped up to the plate, and they all decided this was a worthwhile effort to. So if you're at those businesses, getting pizza at Zoe's, getting your car repaired at Flood's, filling up at Minute Mart or buying some milk at Minute Mart, going to Big Bunny, doing your grocery shopping, getting your car washed, pitch in that extra $1, $5. It's going to save a kid. It's going to help. This is the future of our children.
What a salesperson you are. You're wonderful. She's great.
I'd also like to say, if you're watching, you're a business owner, and you'd like to participate in this campaign, if you get a hold of the chief, Sergeant Dingy, you can get a hold of myself, Denise Clements, we can get you the badges, we can get you the information, and that's all it takes. It's just one phone call, and we'll get you the badges. You know, this is a worthwhile effort. And
We'll see you again on March 18th, our last meeting of March. That's fine.
thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your time and efforts. Appreciate it. Okay. Moving on to Citizens Forum. Do we have any citizens in the audience who wish to come forward this evening? Please state your name and address.
Hello. Dan Butler, 35 Brookside Road. First of all, I wanted to be here at the last meeting while we were having a baby. I wanted to thank the DPW. We were on pins and needles that night in the blizzard because we were expecting our first child. And of course, the pressure of the storm started making little pains on there, and I told her, don't get up. Unless you have to go to the bathroom, you're not moving. And I was actually shocked. DPW, our street and Charlton Street, I believe, have contracted plow people, and they were just incredible all night long, back and forth, back and forth. I mean, it wasn't just a little path. They had the whole street wide. The next morning, she couldn't hold out anymore. Baby was coming. I heard it snow blowed the driveway and all. Got her going about 10:30 in the morning or so. It was a nice, easy drive through Southbridge until I got to Auburn, Worcester. Worcester was terrible, trying to get to St. V's. But yeah, I mean, super good job by our DPW. I mean, that was not an easy storm. We had 4-inch per hour snow at probably, I don't know, about 10 or 11 that night, and I was looking out the window, couldn't even see my neighbor's house. But I kept seeing the flashing light going by. So thank you to all those guys. Secondly, another thing I wanted to be here for the last meeting for, but I couldn't. There was that, of course you guys talked about it, but the article, I think it was probably misquoted or something in the article in the paper about the leftover tornado funds or whatever. It kind of caused some of us to, question, got a little upset, but I listened to all that. My only question was, I'm thinking when you come into 169, I know I said this before, but we got the Make Southbridge Your Home signs and all, and of course you come into 169, welcome to Southbridge, first thing we see is wide open now because of the tornado. I was wondering if, the commercial drive, if we could put some trees there, possibly, on either side, at least the entry of it. It's not going to do much for years, but, I mean, since we lost all those trees, the sound from the trucks and all is just loud. And it might just make it, it's technically public property.
Big trucks and stuff, too.
I mean, it's just an idea. I just want to throw it out there while they're talking about where to put trees.
If I could, I know that there was some talk about putting trees on that side at one time, and now there's a 2-grant scenario for this, and there's the extra trees that apparently the town can decide where they go to too, for those aren't, so perhaps we can do it. But back then, I remember hearing the comments that they had to be on private property, not on, they poo-pooed being on public land, so to speak. And
Yep.
There was an issue about municipal land, because we talked about putting them on that left side.
But then
But now, perhaps
they
it's a
said they
little
wanted to put
different.
some
Perhaps the
downtown.
grant won't be so stipulated, and we can get them over there. But I know originally, when we were planting
Exactly.
trees, couldn't put them there.
Had to be on private property,
But
like
again,
less than
since
20
they're
feet from
allowing the
road.
trees on other parts of the town, the extras, as it said, perhaps we can allocate that as an extra area that could use the trees.
Yeah, the chairwoman just kind of asked me about that. We can certainly look at it. The one thing that I would be somewhat concerned about is Commercial Drive is intended to be a business, and if we have trees that kind of hinder of site visibility of trucks coming in and out.
Yeah, I thought
But, I just want to look at it.
There's a lot of
Certainly we can
space, you
consider that.
potentially set them back a little further, but depends on the rules.
Just something to
Right.
pretty up the area a little.
Yeah.
10 years down the road, it might look pretty good, so.
It's a good idea.
Thirdly, the only thing I had a question on, I know I'd approached Mr. Clark probably 2 weeks or so before Christmas. Most of you don't know about this, it's a very odd situation, but FEMA sent us a bill almost a year and a half after the tornado saying that they overpaid us, and they wanted $335 back, which is exactly the amount they gave us. After we sent receipts and everything for, I don't know, they tried to convince us that, they said it was immediate needs is what they told us to apply for, which they told us was for chainsaws, work boots, things that we needed immediately after the storm. We submitted them $700 worth of receipts for Home Depot for everything that was listed on there. They sent us $335 in the mail. I believe it was like $335.20. I don't remember the exact amount, but around $335. We just got a bill right before Christmas asking for it back. We appealed it. They denied it. We appealed it again. They still deny it. They won't even tell us why. They just said they overpaid us. I don't know if any other tornado victims had this issue. I didn't know what else to do because we had an overdue water bill at the time, a baby on the way. We were trying to fix up, hurry up and fix the house the rest of the way to get the nursery done and all. So I approached the town with the FEMA bill and a letter asking, because I remember Denise back at the one year, the cookout we had, you said there was a donation fund from like the marathon and all, and you said it was for, emergency needs or something. So I didn't know. I approached, sent this in. I still haven't heard back. FEMA is now charging us interest on this. If I know I was told that we can't use this for personal people, I was told, because if I was given some, then other people would want. So my suggestion was, if there is the fund there, and I think you said it was close to $3,500 or $4,000, if we could maybe, I've heard a lot of neighbors saying that it would be great to get at least our building permit fees refunded. That's one of the things I've heard from 4 or 5 of them said that at the time, it's just, we all had to pay, close to $200 or $300 and, building permits for the house, for sheds, stuff like that, it seemed kind of a kick in the butt at the time because none of us wanted the repair. It was kind of brought on us, so I didn't know. I just don't want that money, falling by the wayside. If there's a lot of people out there that still have minor, small needs, if we can get maybe a list together and ask people, do you have any immediate needs that we could use out of this fund? That's all I have, not to, with all due respect, just...
Talk about it, respond to that.
Sure. Mr. Butler did approach me in terms of addressing a specific individual concern with money that was donated for a general purpose. What I had specifically indicated to Mr. Butler and will continue to indicate here is that the money was donated to the town for the general purposes of cleanup. And I have to go back and look at the individual donations that were provided to see if there was individual discretion in that. What is the plan at this point is we do have grant money to do, obviously, the trees, as was alluded to earlier, and then we have money to do drainage and storm cleanup if people were to bring out the additional branches or any trees that they have on their property and bring it up to the front, close to the right-of-way. The town cannot go on to private property to do it. The grant actually will cover some of that cleanup, and the intent was to use the remaining money from the donations to kind of help everyone in general. Because I think the day after Mr. Butler made his request to me, I received a complaint that how dare the town consider using money for individual purposes. So we will use it for the intended purpose that it was given, which was to do a general cleanup in the area, offer to all the residents in the area to put the trees out in their yard, and the town will go through and just pick those up. Mr. Daly has been working diligently on the design. We don't have the design quite done yet. The intent is that the money that we received, which I think was in the neighborhood of $260,000, that we're trying to have that money go for the biggest bang for the buck, so we did not use any of it for design. He's doing an in-house design, and then he will contract out or do the bid once we have a public meeting. And trust me, he knows that it's a priority of mine that we have the
I've
public
seen them
meeting
out there. They're doing good.
in the winter. And yeah, he's done survey
Oh, yeah.
work. So we're trying to get the biggest bang that we can to do as much work as we can to remediate the drainage issues, which I think are really one of the primary concerns in that area. But the two focal points that we have are the drainage and the tree removal. And, we're going to kind of have, we can only do tree removal that's within the public way, but we're not going to sit there and audit people or check people. We're just going to let them bring the stuff up, and if that's where it is, then we'll just pick it up. That's what we did during the tornado, and I think that makes some sense to do. But unless there's some language that, I need to look at that allows for specific grants, the intent is to spread that money over the value of all the residents that were impacted from the tornado.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Boy or girl?
congratulations.
It's a little girl, Dakota
And you named her
Lynn.
Blizzard, right?
We thought of Storm. No. That's Dakota Lynn. She's 9 pounds. She's gorgeous.
Congratulations.
Just like Daddy.
Congratulations.
Just like Dad, huh? She got beard going already?
Little bit.
Little bit, huh?
More hair than me.
Oh, that's good.
Could you leave your phone number, or if you're staying till the end, we're not, it's a short meeting, if you can stay a few minutes, I'd just like to speak with you afterwards.
Certainly.
Thank
No
you.
problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other citizens wishing to come forward? Okay. We'll move right on to agenda item number 9. Vote to approve proposed marijuana addition to bylaw section 7-302, quote, prohibition of intoxicating liquors, end quote, and to amend said bylaw to read, quote, prohibition of intoxicating liquors and marijuana in public places, end quote. Quote, no person shall have in their possession an open container containing any intoxicating liquor or smoke and ingest marijuana in any park, playground, cemetery, conservation land, or other public place in the town of Southbridge, except otherwise permitted by the town manager. Any person violating this bylaw and/or unable to provide identification shall be punishable and face fines as provided in Section 1-111 of this code. Article 8, Section 31-1, Town Council meeting November 29th, 1974, July 8th, 1975, end quote. This is the second reading.
So moved.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I apologize for my speaking voice this evening, but I would like to make a motion to refer this back to the PPP subcommittee for further discussion. There was a lot of confusion about some of the language at the last meeting here, and at the subcommittee where this bylaw was discussed, it was at the very end of a long meeting with 3 other agenda items in front of it, one of which was very contentious, and there was a lot of other discussion prior to it. And I believe at the last meeting, Councillor Clements brought up some good points, as did Councillor Regis, and I abstained on this vote at the last meeting. I wanted to vote yes, but I had some concerns about the specific language, and I feel like the language could potentially use a little bit more work before we finalize this bylaw. And I apologize for not mentioning this to you, Councillor Lanchman, before the meeting. I've been sick and I haven't had a chance to give you a call. But
We're going to revisit it anyway on another topic. I think it's straightforward.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Councilwoman was asking me my opinion. I guess, I make the same comment that, that I made before. I think a couple things in regards to this. I think this is really a straightforward piece that allows for officers to have some discretion right now, and I think that is important. Absolutely, positively, is this a convoluted, difficult issue? Yes. Are we going to revisit it in more of a totality? Yes. Will we have resolution? Until DPH actually comes up with some regulation, this thing isn't really going to be settled, and I think I just got some material that they're doing a listening tour throughout the state.
They are.
So this is something that is going to be an evolution. However, I did get a sense from the council that the council, at I think one of the subcommittee meetings, is that they do want to see some action by administration. And I applaud the chief with coming up with something quick, efficient, that gives us a little bit of a tool to try to make an impact on the street. Certainly, it's a policy decision of the council as to what direction you want to go. But, the sense from what I got from the majority of the council was, let's get started on it. And you do have my promise that, we'll be back because it is a convoluted issue and one that needs additional thought. That I don't disagree with at all. But I think this piece is so straightforward that it makes sense to continue to do this at this level.
Yeah, go ahead, Councilor.
Just a question on this, too. Obviously, this is the second reading, it's nothing finished yet. Then there'll be a third reading. In between now and the third reading, which potentially could be the 18th, if we held a PPP, had lots of discussion again, you can amend it before the final acceptance of the final reading. So it still gives, regardless of what we do this evening, as long as we vote to continue the process, so I guess it's not regardless, then we can certainly amend it at the third reading if something still doesn't feel good to you or whatever. You know, I mean, there's a time frame if the PPP chair can hold another.
The final reading for this will be March 4th, not the 18th. There's a meeting between then and
You
now.
could wait till March 18th. No one says it has to be the 4th, right?
If you want to have the third reading on March 18th, I mean, that's certainly the
I don't know, I mean,
prerogative
unless
prerogative of
it's-
the council.
No, I didn't want to interrupt. I just want to say, I did hear you had some concerns. I reached out to the chief of the department that made the presentation for the MMA. I did speak with him Friday, and I am getting the PowerPoint that they presented. Perhaps that'd help clear some up, but if you'd like, I can certainly get that to you or present it however Mr. Clark would like me to get it to the council. Just trying to get the best information I can for you.
Thank you.
Well, maybe to that end, if I could, if the chief has that material, maybe we could put that on for the March 4th. Because the meetings are back-to-back, it's going to be a late agenda again. It's just...
I don't have it in my possession yet. He said he'd send it over Friday, and I don't have it, so, but I'll make every effort to make it.
But if we could try, I mean, I
certainly will,
don't think I
Mr.
have
Clark.
any presentations lined up for March 4th, and if council would like to get additional info, and then...
That would be fine.
Then you could always postpone the reading if we needed to.
I'm interested in amending the language, and I was thinking it might be more appropriate to have a more full discussion about the language that I have specific issue with in subcommittee as opposed to here at the reading. Although I could make a motion to amend this tonight here, although I wish there were more councilors present this evening.
Yes,
But-
so do I.
If I may, Madam Chairman, it would probably be better, the piece that I saw, if we did that at a subcommittee, some of it goes way beyond the scope of what we're talking about. If that's okay, it would be my suggestion. We could kind of break down whatever pieces of that you felt were pertinent to your concerns.
I would prefer the work of any changes to this proposed amendment go through a subcommittee and not be done up here on the council floor. That's what the subcommittee is for. So I have...
I'll second the motion to
Second which
postpone
one?
to subcommittee. Her motion is to wait, to send it back to subcommittee just to,
So we won't go through with the second reading? Is that what you're proposing, both of you?
either way, it's either second or third reading tonight. So-
Okay, so how much time, I mean, I was led to believe that there was some urgency to getting this going, and it sounds like by postponing the second reading, we're
Well,
going to be...
Personally,
Yes.
I'd like to see it enacted right now.
Yeah, that's what
But
I-
I
All
don't
right,
want to...
withdraw my second, but the
I'm
intent
not
is
trying to
have a
impose
meeting
my
before
will
the
on the
18th.
council, just, it's the way I feel. We had a car stop today, in that the car was stopped for a motor vehicle violation just a couple hours ago. Marijuana was found, and there was a lot of other things found also. I can't go into details because none of this has gone to court yet, obviously. But it seems to tie itself to a lot of other concerns for public safety. So, I'm willing to admit I'm probably jaded against the issue. I just want to get the council the best information I can. In my opinion, we should do it right now, but I can certainly, however Mr. Clark would prefer, I don't like to just send things to council, so if I have it tomorrow, I can get it to Mr. Clark. If he feels it's appropriate, he can send it right out to the council, but I'll get it as quickly as I can for you.
I'll withdraw my second so we can continue on with the reading if we choose tonight, unless somebody else seconds.
Well, Councilor Langevin had something you wanted to add, I assume.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have a problem bringing this back. I mean, we did have a discussion on this, and I agree with what the chief is saying. I mean, we're just trying to move forward and put some safeguards in place, if you want to say that, to work with it. This is, like you said, work in progress, really. Have something to work with. I have no problem calling another meeting on this. I'll just look at my calendar and call Yvonne tomorrow or something like that and try to set up something to get it in as quick as possible. And then the chief can reach out to me. If he can get that PowerPoint as soon as possible, we can move forward with this. I don't have a problem with that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. So what I have is a motion. You withdrew your
second.
second on that motion.
Right.
Do you want to continue with this motion? Because if you do, we'll take a vote on it. If it fails, we're going to
She needs a second.
vote on this.
She'd still need us.
My concern is, given that public consumption of marijuana is still a violation of state law independent of what we do this evening, that there should not be any appreciable policy change as far as the chief is concerned. I mean, what this would do is would add an additional citation for public consumption on top of the, I believe it's a $100 ticket for possession of under 1 ounce. I have no idea. Possession of under 1 ounce of marijuana is a civil ticket of $100. So,
Not if you have a doctor's note.
right. But you have, the identification language is still being hashed out by DPH. So as far as I'm concerned, you could still write them a ticket anyway. If somebody wants to bring their doctor's note to court,
Not if you
whatever.
have a doctor's note. I know we went through this, and I
But the
apologize.
police
to
have
the
no
council.
way of verifying any of that information because it's still up in the air as far as DPH is concerned. And as far as I'm concerned, if you see somebody standing on a street corner smoking marijuana, I fully expect you to do everything in your power to make sure that that's not going to continue happening. And I don't see anything we do tonight changing that.
I can tell you right now that if I wrote a note, put Dr. Smithers on it, and gave it to one of the council, and you had something on you, there's no way I could cite you. No way. There is no form for it, there is no way to do it. As of right now, that's what the law is.
That is ridiculous.
Okay.
I agree.
Before we go any further, excuse me.
I don't want to
excuse
hold
me.
you up, sir.
Thank you. If you, I'm waiting to see if Councilor Peliquin's motion has any kind of a second on it. If not, it fails, and we move back to this and wait for the PPP meeting for the third and final reading. So do I have any takers? The motion fails.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, I need a second on this, because we didn't get that far.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion on it as it stands? Okay. Could we have a roll call, please?
Counsel Moriarty?
Yes.
Counsel Nicola?
Yes.
Counsel Peliquin?
No.
Counselor Vandal?
Yes.
Counselor Clements?
Yes.
Counselor Langevin?
Yes.
5 yes, 1 no.
Okay. Thank you.
May I, Madam Chairman? I will certainly still get the PowerPoint. I'll
Please.
get that information to Mr. Clark, and anytime you'd like, I'll do the best I can to try to make sense of what Boston did with this.
Excellent.
And if
Thank
it's
you,
the
Chief.
will of the council, we'll put it on for March 18th to give sufficient time
That's
so
perfect.
a discussion could occur.
You and everybody gets a chance to say what they want to say. Okay?
Okay. I have some specific concerns about the language in here involving identification that I believe would serve well to be hashed out at a subcommittee meeting. So
Works for me.
thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Counsel. Okay. Item number 10, agenda item number 10 is Councilors Forum. Councilor Peliquin.
Nothing from me tonight, Madam Chair, although I would like to apologize for my tardiness this evening.
That's
it.
quite
Thank
all
you.
right. Thank you. Councilor Langevin.
Nothing this evening, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilor Vandal.
Thank you. I was wondering if the town manager could bring us up to speed on how many hours after a storm do you have to shovel out, have your property cleaned?
I know that question was asked, and, I didn't get the answer. Maybe if the chief, if the chief could, at the last meeting, there was a question about how much time do people have after a storm to shovel the sidewalk? And I thought we had put in that there was a note saying it was 7
I
hours. and it
believe
was
the
some
bylaw says 7 hours at the end of the storm.
7 hours after the end of the storm.
Right, and with the last mess we had, I went in, I believe the storm ended, and I'm guessing noonish in Worcester County. I went in, we actually went Sunday, and we went and talked to people and asked them, and then we were going to aggressively go after that on Monday. And then in speaking with folks from our DPW, who I think did a fantastic job, it was such a volume of snow, we hadn't gotten some of our pieces taken care of. So we tried to be fair and just do the right thing and give everybody a chance because it was such a vicious storm.
So we did
how
not
it-
issue any citations till after the DPW had a
Correct.
chance to do town property. So
Right.
they get a longer reprieve than normal.
And if you remember on that Monday, we actually got a little bit more, so, there's no specific definition of a storm. We try to be reasonable, we call, we talk to them, do everything we can, especially with the Main Street area and by where the schools are. We talk with them right away.
Thank you.
Thank you. On Elm Street, there's a dumpster on the sidewalk. It's been there for quite some time, and I thought, I wouldn't have to say anything. I thought that, they would remove it. I thought it was there temporarily, but it's there permanently. And that sidewalk's not shoveled as of today.
Do you have the, what address
No,
approximately?
it's where the little mini-mart was.
West by Mini Mart, okay.
Yeah. Not the one that's open now, the one that's closed.
Yeah.
Right
On the
after,
left side.
right after Park Street.
Yep, I know where you're talking about.
Right.
I'll look into it.
And I'm in receipt of a letter here from a bill from cable TV. A lady called me and she dropped her bills off at my house. She's paying $6 more a month for cable, and they took away 10 of her channels. And she was, wondering what we could do about it.
Yeah, unfortunately, on the cable, we have no jurisdiction at all over content or price, so...
So who would I refer this to?
Actually, if you like, I could take it, and then there's a gentleman, Tom Cohen, who's our government liaison, and I could just forward it to him and ask him to get back to her.
Beautiful. I'll let you take care of it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That's all I have, ma'am.
Can I just, before I turn this over to Councilor Clements, I just wanted to ask, since you were talking about snow removal and all, is the DPW still going around to streets cleaning out, trying to get to the gutters? I happened to go down Everett Street on Saturday, and after you pass St. Hedwig's Church, all bets are off. There's just one lane, there are cars parked on top of piles of snow. I had to go all the way back past St. Hedwig's, heading towards the YMCA to find a spot where I could park and be near the curb, because otherwise I would have gotten hit by anybody trying to go by. And I know it's tough because there's not a lot of off-street parking, so everybody's parked on the street, but that street's a disaster. And Elm Street isn't a heck of a lot better either. So I was just wondering if they're still, going street to street and trying to get as close to the gutters as possible. I don't know if you know that.
Well, actually, yeah, the DPW director and I did have a conversation. I think it was last week. We did authorize about $6,000 to be spent. We brought in the machinery with the snow blower in the front to clear out the parking. They did as much as they could of Main Street, and I think some sections of Hamilton Street. So they tried to do some of the downtown core, but no. And I think we did do out front of Town Hall here, because I know that was kind of pushed back.
That's fine.
But we
if
did really the core.
Yeah.
We didn't get into that. I can ask.
The only reason I say this is because, if somebody needed an ambulance or a fire truck to go down that street, the way it looked on Saturday, the house was burning to the ground. You couldn't get there. There's no possible way. Everybody's got to try to pull out of the way of a car coming one direction. It's one way.
Okay.
So it's pretty bad on Everett Street. I can't speak for any
Okay.
others, but as one of the streets off the core, I thought that might be a street we'd
We'll look
want
at
to
those.
Thank you. Councilor Clements.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think just to encourage everybody to get out there and buy your silver and gold badges and support a program that provided for over 130 youths last year, a 6-week program that provided 5-day-a-week access and kept those kids busy for a lot of parents, and I hope that the town will come out and support that program. Other than that, meeting date?
Before we do, I was very remiss. I forgot a member of the council.
Oh.
Councilor Moriarty.
It's unusual because I never have anything. Just briefly,
Thank you, Counselor. Moving right along. Oh, I'm sorry.
Some more things while he's talking.
just very briefly, Saturday, March 23rd, there's another Relay for Life cancer fighting fundraiser going on. Happens to be at the Knights of Columbus from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. It's called the Bunny Breakfast. And basically, for $5 a person, you can come in, breakfast, music, games, activities, candy, and a free toy. 125 meals are up for grabs. We'll have a professional photographer on hand this year who will do photos for those who want to make an additional donation. We had this last year at LaSalle, and we had some decent attendance, and hoping to build on that. For more information, you can contact myself at 774-230-6870, or you can contact a cousin of mine who's also involved, Malia Moriarty, at 774-230-2003. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. And now, can we have the next meeting date, please?
Certainly, it will be next week, Monday, March 4th, 7 o'clock, here in council chambers.
Okay, and finally, adjournment. Can I have a show of hands for adjournment? All in favor? This meeting's adjourned. Have a nice evening, everybody.